Warning: the following show contains research done by highly trained professionals. Prior to researching, please refrain from doing solo investigations. This will prevent your chances of risk of injury. Viewer discretion is advised.
Joined by Jim, and he was talking to me about some of his encounters that he has had with many things in the paranormal world. And if you would like to introduce yourself, I think my viewers already know a lot about me, but if you would like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Jim Eagle, and I am a boxing trainer here in San Francisco, California.
Heck yeah.
Uh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and uh, have experienced quite a bit of the paranormal, especially regarding UFOs.
So, when it comes to UFOs, have you mainly experienced them where you live or when you travel or?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. It's usually I'm not looking for them. It's usually I am happen to be looking up, or I was happened to be sunning myself on the roof of my building or something like that. So let me tell you about two experiences. I'll tell you about the very last one I had, which was about a week ago, and then I'll tell you about my very first one. How's that?
All right, sounds good.
Okay. So my very last one, I went up to the roof of my building. My building is an 8-story building here in San Francisco, and they have like a little roof deck up there, and I like to go up there and sun sometimes, get some sun, and which is kind of rare because in San Francisco it gets kind of foggy. So
Yeah.
so you kind of take advantage of when the sun is out and when the skies are clear. So I did that. I went up there, and this is just last week. So was out there, and I opened my eyes. And since I've seen UFOs before, this is not my first time. It was just last week. I opened my eyes and I was looking up, and sure enough, there's a couple of them going by. And then I look a little deeper, a little closer, and I can see about 100 of them, and I'll describe them right now. They are about this big, or that's what they appear to me in my eye to be about that big. Remember, the sky doesn't have a background, so you can't judge distance and that too well. I mean, you can a little bit because of planes and
Yeah.
birds and stuff, but not well enough that if something transparent, like what I was seeing was a transparent ball. They're like this size, like glass. You could see through them, but they don't reflect off like glass. But you can see through them. You can definitely tell that there's some kind of enclosure or transparent enclosure, and inside were two lights, um, and one of them is usually twinkling like a star, and the other one is blinking furiously, boom, 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 like really, really, really fast, and almost like it's the propellant or whatever it is that's making it go across the sky. And I looked up and I saw about 100 of these things going past me just last week, going over me. Sorry. And I did get it on video. It's on my phone or my iPad, and I've sent it to a few friends. I have not uploaded it to YouTube or anything at this point, but I'm just recording it for my own personal enjoyment and research too. I've been researching UFOs and reading about them ever since I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, I would go to the library, just take out all the UFO books, and just bring them home and you read them all, which is interesting. And so yeah, I do have it on my iPad, and I have it as a recording. But what's interesting is that it doesn't appear on the phone or the iPad the way it appears to me in the sky. In
Yeah.
on recording devices, it only comes across as this little tiny light going across the screen. Is that like a star almost, like going across the screen? However, in with my naked eyes, I can see that there's an enclosure. I can see twinkling inside, and every now and then they would flash. They would be like boom. They would like, kind of flash at you. Not every time, but every couple of seconds one would flash in different parts of the sky. They only
So,
went out this time. They only went over in one wave of about 100 of them. I wasn't counting them. They just moved slowly across the sky. I wasn't counting them, and they always move from west to east, and so they go towards downtown. Downtown's that way, so they always go
yeah.
towards downtown from the ocean to downtown. I don't know where they're going. They don't change direction. They just go downtown. Sometimes there's a straggler. A wave will go by, and you'll see one or two going by. Afterwards they'll be trying to play catch up, I think, or something.
So do you think that there might be a connection because San Francisco is really popular for tourist attractions? They have Alcatraz, which was known for some of the most notorious victims being held there. So do you think that there might be some sort of connection between the spirit world and UFOs?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I myself have come to some conclusions about what these UFOs are. So I definitely think there's a spiritual aspect to them, like you're suggesting, and uh, where they gather and where they exhibit themselves, I'm not sure about that part. I'm not sure
So
about that part.
So now going back to the description of the craft, and you said you could see it better with your own eye, which I totally understand because I've done my own research on the frames per second of the human eye compared to what we see on our monitors. There's 144
Right,
hertz gaming monitors and all sorts of 4K, 8K televisions, which we can't
right.
even see with our own eyes. But our own eyes can capture so much magnificent beauty in this world, and it doesn't even,
True.
like, my iPhone, for example, takes phenomenal pictures, but it doesn't capture what the human eye sees.
Right.
So, if I may ask you, did you see any sort of like being or a window that you could see clearly with your own eye, or was it
No,
really far?
no, they're not that far. Some of them, that was what's interesting about the depth of this wave. Some of them look about 20 feet away, and some of them look about 200 feet up in the sky, in the air. And so, all heading at different. They're not in lines or anything. It all seems random, but they're all traveling in a bunch, but random in that bunch going forward. So there didn't appear to be any kind of cadence to it or any lines, three in a row, four in a row, nothing like that. They're all traveling in the same direction, but not bumping into each other, just steadily going east for some reason. So
Huh. So,
all you see is those lights. So there's no beings in there, and I suspect those lights, which are a lot like orbs. Have you seen orbs before?
yeah,
Yeah,
I've had
right. We
encounters with orbs many
right.
times, even in my bedroom. My bedroom is very active. I
Yeah.
have a Ouija board, which I'm still
Mm.
skeptic about the
Be
Ouija board.
careful.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to get it away safely because there's like a whole process that you have to do with it apparently.
Yeah.
But I don't know too much about that. That's going to be a separate research for maybe an
Yeah.
episode or something like that.
Sure.
But in my bedroom, I'll be taking a picture. On Snapchat, there's these little filters, that you can have like a little dog ears on yourself. And I remember one time I was filming around my room, and it requires a face to be captured.
Right.
And the weird part is that I captured a ghost face on my Snapchat, which is really strange.
Wow.
And yeah, it really scared me when I saw that. I was like, what the heck? And I've had some really weird experiences in my own house that my family doesn't believe me for, and I respect them for their own beliefs as well as my
Right.
own. But
It is
uh,
interesting dealing with friends who have some skepticism, isn't it? Friends and
yeah,
family, right? Friends and
yeah,
family.
but I do love that they think that there's something out there, but they just don't know what it is. And people like you and me, and maybe some viewers to both of our channels can relate to us as well, because it's really important that even if, like, I didn't know much as I know now,
Hmm.
if it wasn't for me being on my friend's podcast and being a viewer of his show. I was a viewer of his show before I joined his podcast, and now I own my own show, which is pretty crazy to think about. But I've learned so much about the paranormal world and just really digging into it and finding so much cool stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I've had lots of Bigfoot and Sasquatch encounters, and I know we're combining a whole lot of paranormal stuff together, but I love every single bit of the paranormal world. And
Right.
I do love the UFO stories because the thing that fascinates me about it is like the technology. It might be our own technology, but it could also be extraterrestrial technology too. And uh, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but UCLA recently started up a program for extraterrestrial research, and you can like obtain a degree. I think it is. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong from my viewers, uh, if I'm wrong on that. But I was talking to someone that's a part of that program to get a little bit more insight. I might try and take a class on it because it's so interesting. But do you think that there might be a reason why they're kind of being more open about this kind of stuff being on the news? Because before it was really disclosed, and since prior administration, I don't want to get too much into politics, but since the prior administration did open up that disclosure mandate,
Hmm.
uh, do you think that maybe they're still trying to hide the truth, or do you think that they're really showing what the world needs to see?
Well, that's an interesting question, Scott, because I've been listening to some podcasts myself about just about that subject, and I think we have to remember 2020. And what was interesting is that the government did, in fact, reveal that they were studying UFOs and that they do, in fact, exist. It kind of went into the news really kind of gently, and nobody really it didn't really make too many waves. But when you think about it, I mean, we really did have a kind of disclosure. It was, I think, a lot of people are calling it soft disclosure rather than a hard disclosure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that yeah, that we are definitely. Experiencing a kind of a disclosure. I think that what's helped a lot are all these shows that exist now for the last 10, 15, 20 years. You know, there's shows that go back 40, 50 years, but really in the last 20 years, there's been some really good shows that taking the subject very seriously. You know, it's not. I think I was listening to Richard Dolan the other day, and he was just mentioning. He said there's no laugh factor anymore. You don't mention UFOs and people giggle anymore. They actually get serious about it, and they have something to contribute about it. You know.
Yeah, I did ask my mom about her thoughts on UFOs and what she thought. She says that she thinks there's something out there, but she doesn't really quite know. And I do respect those who do agree with that same opinion because I also am the same way. Like, I don't know if it's our own personnel, maybe reinversing engineers, because there's Bob Lazar, which you probably know.
Yeah.
That's the most famous. You could probably tell anyone on the street, and they'll be like, "Oh, I know that guy."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and even my parents, I've talked to them about Bob Lazar, and they go, "Oh, I know that story and all that." And so, do you think that there might be some sort of secret program behind UFO studies, other than Area 51 and all that other the other hidden areas that we know about?
Oh,
Do you
definitely.
think? Yeah, do you think that there might be some sort of secret programming that they know about, and maybe some connection between human and alien life form?
Yeah, definitely. And it is, and I think it ranges from anywhere from like ATIP program that Elizondo was part of to some rumored things that regarding um, what was I reading a couple years ago? I was reading some rumored things. It was a book explaining that UFOs may be demonic, and then they may be harvesting souls, and that's really what they want to do. So you know, we have kind of a range of what exists out there. And but going back to your question regarding, you know, is there secret programs? Yeah, I'm sure they're still running too. I'm absolutely 100% sure they're still running.
So now, going back to you now, do you
Yeah.
think that you're chosen or you're meant to be? And I don't want to say that you're selfishly seeing these UFOs
All
constantly,
right.
but I do want to say, do you think that you're chosen and meant to be seeing these for a reason?
That's an interesting question because I was just listening to a radio show earlier that's I'm sorry, it was a YouTube video that says that they're pre-chosen. All people who see UFOs are pre-chosen, and they know exactly when you're going to be seeing them, so they know when to show themselves. I am not entirely sure if that's accurate because I mean it's a speculation, but it's an interesting thought, and nonetheless. One of the more interesting things about that, when I was on the roof looking at those 100 going by, I was wondering, one of the things I was wondering is how come nobody else sees them, right? How come nobody else sees them? And I was telling that to a friend of mine, and he told me, maybe Jim, you're just seeing them. And it got me to think, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe for some reason I'm the only one seeing. How come nobody else is seeing them? If you see 100 of these things going over these buildings in San Francisco, wouldn't there be some kind of news article or radio or so you'd hear about police reports or
Yeah,
something,
and on the
and you
news
don't,
too.
right? You don't.
Yeah.
So I had mentioned this to who Jimmy Church is, Fade to Black Radio.
No, but I can look him up later, and
Yeah,
I'll
look him up.
re-listen.
He
I'll
has a good
re-listen to the
radio show.
podcast, and I'll
He's on
definitely check
Mondays
him out.
through Thursdays, YouTube and Fade to Black Radio. He has a podcast,
And
and
for
I
my
had called
viewers,
in.
check him out as well.
Yeah, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. And so I called into a show about this encounter that I had a couple weeks ago, and was telling him about it, and he suggested the same thing that my friend suggested. He goes, "Had you ever thought that you're the only one seeing him?" And the reason he said that is because that's what happened to him. And when he and his wife were driving over in the San Fernando Valley, coming out down on the mountains, he had seen something spectacular come down from the sky through his windshield of his car, and then was looking through the windshield of his car. But he had seen something, what he says, crash into downtown Van Nuys.
Wow.
But when he got home to look at the news and he looked online, he asked MUFON, because he's well connected, so he has friends who work at MUFON. Nobody could say anything. Then nobody had reported anything. There was not. He apparently only he and his wife had actually seen this, and he was kind of fortunate to have his wife in the car, so there's somebody else to verify that we both saw this, but nothing happened. Nobody else saw it. So it's kind
Wow.
of interesting. What does that say what does that say? What are the implications of that, right?
Well, my own thought process is there's a lot of movies like Star Wars and uh, I think the Alien series as well. I don't know if it's a series or a movie, but I was watching Alien with my brother recently, and I've come to realize that maybe there might be something, and maybe those producers of those movies are trying to tell a story through movies, and I think that it could be some sort of connection as well.
Hmm. Right. There are, and I think you're referring to like desensitization programs, right? Something that allows us to accept these things in the future or down the road by planting little thoughts in our head that we'll already be comfortable with the idea of it, right?
Yeah. And so, bouncing a little bit off topic, have you ever had experience with like cryptids or other kinds of paranormal phenomenon?
Yeah, I have, and I still want to get back to my original sighting,
Yes.
but I have to say that I have actually. One time here in my apartment in San Francisco, I was on the balcony, and I just had this odd feeling that I wanted to look up, climb on the railing and look up, uh, and see. There was something pulling me doing that. I had a kind of a pull from my insides to do this thing. So I actually did it. I kind of, which is dangerous to do when you're on the fifth floor, right? So
Yeah.
I climbed on the railing, and I looked up, and on a balcony above me, I saw a little being. I saw a little being, and what's odd about it is kind of an off color, like ox blood kind of color. It wasn't red like ketchup red. It
And
was
it's not like
ox.
what we see in E.T., like the movie.
No, no. It was like a ox blood color, like a dark red, but not even reddish. Almost like a like a like a maroonish kind of color.
Wow.
And it was a friendly thing. It was shocking to see it. As soon as I saw it, I got down and jumped back on the balcony. But it said hi, which is weird. It said hi to me, and then when it saw me get down, because I was so frightened, I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach. Oh, that's not right. And I got down, and it was talking to me, uh, saying, "No, no, come back, come back, come back. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you." And I just ran back into the apartment. I did not want to talk to this
Well,
thing. So whatever it was.
Was there anyone else that was watching you?
No, it
Or
was very late at night, so there was nobody else watching me. So that's one encounter. The I always think of it as a little demonic kind of thing. That's how I think of it. I didn't. have a particular name for it or anything, but I just thought, that's not good.
So was it like a negative form of energy that you felt, or was it positive, or was it like in the middle?
Well, I think it started out inquisitive because I had a feeling, oh, I want to go out and see what's pulling me out there. I just wanted to get out to the balcony and look up, and then something made me climb on top of the railing to look even further. But then once I saw it, it was just like horror. It was just horror. I just get out of it. It didn't look normal. It didn't at all because nothing is oxblood color. It was only about 3 feet high, and it was kind of
It,
have a round head. No
what
hair.
was this creature like almost human shape, or was it like not even close to human shape?
It it was humanoid, but 3 feet tall, humanoid, but roundish body, round head. Weird, just odd.
It's like something
So
you'd probably see in a Star Wars film, or
yeah, yeah, or like a little. You know what it kind of looked like? Like a little Cupid thing. Ever see those funny little Cupid things?
I
Kind of
know.
like that.
Well, I know about the Nenjin creature, which I talked about in a video that I did recently about the legends of Nenjin, and supposedly it's a little creature with two legs, and then it has a little head like you described. So maybe it might be that same creature, or it
Mm,
had maybe an off breed of that same creature.
right, right. Definitely, it was late at night, past midnight, well past midnight when it happened. So, um,
This could really open some doors to maybe your connection with UFOs, and really for those people that are in this field of UFO research, um, to really understand maybe who's piloting these UFOs, and uh, maybe it's a sign that maybe they're coming to Earth for a specific reason, and maybe it's a message that they're trying to give, but they just don't know the right person to give it to.
perhaps, perhaps.
And
Yeah,
if you'd like to go ahead and tell your first encounter, or your
yeah.
first
So
encounter
one of
story
the
as well.
Sure, I will. So one of the interesting things I have to say this part is that I am 55 years old right now, and when I was 31, I had gotten sober. Um, had gotten sober, and then I'd gotten to a kind of spirituality as well. And that's when from that point on, like a couple of years after that point, was when I started seeing UFOs. I was so, it had nothing to do with, being high or being drunk or being, under the influence of any kind of substance.
Because at
I
that point
was,
you're already
yeah,
off.
I was
You're already
already
off.
clean and sober by that time. Yeah. So after I was 31, so I started seeing these things. And my very first encounter, my very first um, sighting was in a gym downtown. It doesn't exist anymore. It was downtown, and that gym is closed since, but it was elevated. It was like 2 or 3 floors above the street level, and I was looking
Oh,
out.
you can see
uh
so much from that level, because
yeah, I could
I
see the
have a tube.
sky and the
Yeah.
street, and I was in between sets, and so I was trying to catch my breath. I'd walked over to the window just to look out while I was catching my breath. I looked up and I saw this biplane going by, a regular old plane, little tiny plane going by the window. And I looked up and I was just watching the plane, and then I saw something as it was going. I saw something in between the plane and me.
What did
And the
this
plane kept
object?
going, but I didn't watch the plane. I kept watching where I was looking because I said, "Oh, there's something there," for a fraction of a second. And I kept looking and I looking, and it's almost like it popped out at me. Something popped out, and it was that typical silverish orb that you hear about, and it was just floating in the sky. It was moving a little bit, like just a little bit around its area, not too much, just floating around. And I just kept staring, and I said, "Wow, what is that?" Of course, my brain said, "Oh, that's a mylar balloon."
Hmm.
But then I started thinking, well, balloons float and they keep moving, right? They don't just stay in the same place. This thing is staying in the same place, moving a little bit, but it's staying in the same place. Now, the interesting thing is I kept staring at it very intently uh, because it had captured my interest, and suddenly others were popping out next to it. I could see another one, then another one, then another one. All in total, I think about 8 of them were all floating around each other. Boom, boom, never bumping into each other, but never moving down, one direction or the other direction, just kind of floating there. Boom.
So
And
how long did it stay there for?
it, well, it stayed there for as long as I was there, which was about 10, 15 minutes. I just stood there. The odd thing is, and this is kind of a running theme that I've noticed with my UFOs, is that I was alone. I was in a big part of the gym, but I looked around to see if I could get somebody to come over and say, "Hey, come look at this and let me know if you can see this." Nobody was in that part of the gym. And that's what's so
Wow.
weird. It's like, how come there's nobody here? You would think there'd be somebody else in this part of the gym. Nobody was here. I couldn't get anybody to come over and and witness it with me. So, and I've noticed that with several of my other UFO, almost all of them, of my other UFO encounters, I'll be alone. I'll be with people for a while, and then suddenly they'll walk off, and I'll be alone, and I'll be looking up, and I I'll probably see something. Just a couple of months earlier this year, I think it was it this year or late last year? I can't remember. I think it was early this year, January, February. I was riding my bike down in a part of San Francisco called Hunters Point. Bayview area, Hunters Point.
I think I've heard of that. Is that near Golden Gate?
No, that's the other side. Yeah, yeah. So this
Okay,
is
yeah.
on the bay side going down towards San Jose, that area. And so I was riding my bike, and there were other people around me, and then I stopped, and I have this on video too. I stopped my bike. I looked up. I saw a guy to my left. I watched him walk off, and then suddenly he was out of sight. And I looked, and then I said, "I'm going to look up." And I looked up, and sure enough, there was two objects up there. One was a little red ball. It looked like it had to be like a basketball size from my distance, right? Boom. If I brought it down, I'm assuming it was about basketball size. If I put it back up in the
Wow.
sky, it's a tiny dot.
So
But
it's very small.
it was a little red dot, and then it would stay away from this other one. It looked like it was trying to follow this other one, which was odd looking in that it was all shapes and colors. All different shapes and colors. It was kind of odd. It was all different shapes and colors. It was like it was sparkling but translucent, kind of like almost like a big square piece of what is that stuff you put on tinsel? Do you know what tinsel is? You put it on your Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but a big square piece of tinsel that was like wavering, and I said, "What is that?" And then I saw the little red one. It would kind of keep a distance of about 30 feet away, but it would travel with it as it was floating through the sky.
So do you think they were fighting each other, or do you think that they were just maybe cruising
No,
along?
I think it was just cruising along. Were they working together? I don't know. Maybe one was the drone for the other one. I mean, I have no idea. So, or perhaps they were working together for
Or a
something.
fuel ship, and then maybe a
No idea. No idea. I have to say the main one was odd looking, just that weird tinsely kind of looking, but a big square piece of tinsel like that. And then the other one was just this red ball, just traveling around, but staying about 30 feet behind the other one.
wow.
Oddest thing in the world. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a really
not
weird
something you
one.
see every day. I think most of these encounters that you've encountered are unlike any other, and I really do think that your story needs to be told to not just my podcast, but
Yeah,
to the world as well, and to many other
yeah.
podcasts as well. So as we were talking about your encounters of UFOs in this orb that was following another orb, then there's something else that you wanted to say as well.
Right. This is my most unusual encounter, and it happened while I was doing Uber. I used to drive for Uber. I don't anymore, but I used to
Oh, I
drive
do
for Uber.
DoorDash, and I got a story I would tell after you tell yours.
Oh, I triggered something. The word Uber triggered
Yeah, well,
something.
I do DoorDash on the side for fun.
Oh, okay, cool. And so I used to do Uber, and I was over by the Golden Gate Bridge, and I, one of the most challenging things you probably don't know about Uber is finding a place to pee when when you when you do when you're out on the road and
That's
you
always
have
the
to
hard
go.
part.
Exactly. So I happened to be near the Golden Gate Bridge, so I drove by. I know where there's a beach there called Baker Beach. And I happened to be nearby Baker Beach. I said, "Oh, I'll just pull over, park. There's plenty of parking over there. I'll park over there, run down to the wooded area. There's a wooded area before the beach. I'll run down to the wooded area and I'll pee there, and then I'll come back." So as I was getting out of my car to do that, saw my iPhone, because you need an iPhone to do Uber. I saw my iPhone. I said, "Oh, I'll just leave it in the car," and I should not have done that. I should have brought it with me, but I did. And for some reason, it was uncharacteristic of me to do that. But I guess I was thinking really quick, oh, I'll just be right back. I wasn't thinking that I would encounter anything. So I did that. I left, dropped the phone there, and I just, ran across the street, down into the wooded area, did my business. And then as I was finishing up, I looked up, and across the bay, there's a part of Marin County called in the Marin Headlands. And there's a part of within the Marin Headlands, you can see it from Baker Beach, called Kirby Cove.
I think I've heard of that. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, Kirby Cove is kind of cool because it's like a campsite, and it's the only part of the Marin Headlands that has trees and a
Is there like
beach. Is
is it like a
a
little
beach.
parking lot, and then there's like a you can kind of oversee San Francisco?
Well, no, it's actually down onto the beach part. So, but you can walk to get there. You have to be up above and then go down into Kirby Cove,
Now I
where
know
the
what you're
trees
talking
are.
about.
Yeah, where the trees are. And it's this campsite. You can actually sign up and camp out there, and cook and light a fire. They have facilities out there, restrooms and stuff for campers. And I was looking from Baker Beach over there, and I saw this huge white light um, above the trees. I could see it above the trees. It was just a huge white light, and I was so taken aback that I kept thinking, "Oh, that's a helicopter." And I don't know if you've ever seen something that you can't explain.
I
Your
saw
brain
something. I
your
saw something
brain
a few
does
nights
something
ago.
funny. It does something funny. It will try to go through like a Rolodex of things and figure out what it is. And it just kept, and my Rolodex kept coming back on helicopter. It's a helicopter. And then I realized it's not a helicopter. It's just a big old golden ball of light over there moving through the trees of Kirby Cove. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. What is that? And because you couldn't hear anything, there was no helicopter sound. It's only a mile and a half away, maybe across the bay, maybe even less. I'm not sure how long, um, what the distance is there. It's not 3 miles or something, but it's maybe less than a mile and a half or something. And so I couldn't even hear it. You couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see any rotors moving. It didn't have any other lights on it or anything. So it's definitely not a helicopter, but it was
So
just
was it
this,
like, was it just
just a giant
solid?
golden ball of light, a giant golden ball. And
It
from
was a
my
solid
distance,
light, or did it blink?
nope, it was solid and
Wow.
kind of goldish yellowish color. It was really brilliant and beautiful, and slowly moving the trees. And I said, how come nobody else can see this? I kept thinking,
That same
it's
question
hard,
that you asked earlier.
right? How come nobody else is seeing this? And then I looked down onto the beach, and on the beach there are two people in uniforms, and I could see the uniforms, but it's dark, right? It's dark because it's at night. This is all at night. It's dark, and I can't see. I can see they're wearing the same thing, whatever it is, but I can't see any particular insignia on the uniform. I just see that they're wearing uniforms, and they're flashing this laser, like a laser light into the woods, and I see them going, sweeping across the woods with this laser light. And every time it would get near me, I would hide behind. I was behind a big tree. I would hide behind the tree, and then I would look at them again. And it was really weird. It's like they were looking for people who might witness whatever this is going on across the other part of across the bay.
Wow.
It was the oddest thing. So I stood there for a while, and I just watched this golden ball of light move through the trees. I watched these guys walking along and shining their laser into the woods for whatever reason. And then after a while, I said, "Well, I got to get back to work." So again, I didn't know what else to do. I just left and went back to my car and finished up the evening. It was already nighttime, so I wanted to finish up and go home. But the next day, I'm just like Jimmy Church. I go online to look to see if I can find anything. I'm on my computer searching the different databases and or stories or anything. I can't find anything about anybody seeing a UFO the night before. So I decide to look up Kirby Cove. And I look up Kirby Cove, and there's a story. There's a news story, and it happened just a few weeks prior. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I start reading this story, and it's about a body they found over there in the campsite.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
Was it a human body or
a human body, yeah, and they don't know who it is. They would only say a couple of things about it. They were trying to keep it not a secret, but they don't want to reveal too many details. I think because they it's a homicide case, or they ruled it a homicide case. They say that the body was found in an unusual position, is all they said. And I think that meant that it was hanging from the trees or something. I was not sure. But that it was found in an unusual position, and that the body had clothes on over a wetsuit. There was a wetsuit, and this person had put his clothes on over his wetsuit.
That's weird.
Under his wetsuit. Sorry, under his wetsuit. So it was a wetsuit over his clothes, and they couldn't figure out why somebody would do that. And they had found the body like 40 feet up from the beach, in the wooded area. So they were asking the public, or the story was saying, if you know anybody who's missing who fits this description, and the guy's description was very, very general. Oddly, it was like 5'9", 5'10", not particularly big. Not particularly overweight. He was average. Brown hair is all they would say. They did toxicology, and all they could find was antidepressants in the system, but they had no idea who it was. There was no wallet, no jewelry, no identifying. I don't know why they didn't do. You know how they identify through the teeth sometimes? They didn't
Yeah.
say why they couldn't do that, but
So
they
you do
still.
optology.
I don't know. Yeah, they didn't, or they couldn't figure out who it is based on the teeth. I don't know. Whatever it is, they did not know. In fact, they never did find out who he was. Only that he had some antidepressants in his toxicology. That was it. And it got me thinking, because it's like, wow, maybe he was just dropped there, and that's why the giant golden ball of light was
So that was
moving
all in the
through.
same night too.
No, that happened. They had found the body a couple weeks prior.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's interesting that, they have all these mysteries over this small campground that's over there, you know?
And now going back to the two people that you saw on the beach,
Yeah.
could you describe to me roughly an estimate of how tall their height were? Like, were they the size of a basketball player? Because basketball players are relatively tall. So,
Right. I would say they're average. One was definitely shorter than the other. I would definitely say that there were probably two males, but one was a shorter male, one was a taller male. They definitely had on some kind of uniform. I couldn't see it from that distance because it's at night, but I could see that they had something. Whatever they were wearing the same thing, and they were just flashing that laser light in the woods.
were they wearing a suit or was it military?
Exactly. Exactly. I can't rule that out. I can't rule that out. They didn't have hats on, so it wasn't like they were police. Sometimes police will have, or state police will have a hat on or something. No, but they
Do you,
definitely were wearing the same thing. I
now,
don't think a private security company would go in and patrol a beach.
yeah. Do you think if I'm not saying that we would probably set this up, but do you think that if we did some sort of hypnosis sometime in the future, or like if you found like a hypnosis person, uh, do you think that that would maybe be able to help remember the description of those two people that you saw?
See, they're like about 40 feet away at night, so that's a big distance hiding behind. And I was hiding behind a tree, so possibly I might possibly remember something I didn't do. I mean, that I'm not saying now. But I didn't have any blackout time or anything like that. I just stayed there for about 10, 15 minutes watching these things happening. And then I just walked back up to my car.
Wow. So yeah, that's definitely an encounter that you don't really hear often at all. I've listened to many stories like, oh, someone's in the woods or their kids got lost and saw something in the sky, blah, 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 the
Yeah.
usual stories that we hear. But this is definitely something that I think for many people that if any of my viewers are also living in San Francisco, they should be open-minded about their surroundings as well because it opens the door to more researchers and invites them to encounter more potentially if they are the chosen one, as we described earlier
Hmm.
in the podcast. And I really do thank you for sharing your experiences, and I think that it's definitely really interesting. Like it almost makes me want to go to San Francisco and spend a night there in my car or something,
Right, right.
and do my own experience encounter, try and figure this out. Maybe go to the exact location too. and maybe do my own research investigation with my team, so we can try and pinpoint exactly the things that you encountered.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that would be very interesting. Yeah.
And maybe there might be another thing in the future that might happen.
Yeah.
After all, history repeats itself sometimes. So
Yeah. But I was always wondering why I was the only one who saw this. You know, it was something that was clearly across the bay. Were there any drivers on Golden Gate Bridge who could see it from that distance? I don't know. How come there was nobody, working Golden Gate Bridge or on Golden Gate Bridge? Could all you have to do is look down into Kirby Cove and you would see it. But I don't. But that time at night, they do close the bridge at certain hours. They don't allow anybody on. It does kind of close, and I don't know what time. I think it was around January. That it happened around January in the year. So the sun does go down early
do
at
you
that
think that there might
time.
be some sort of secret testing site there? And maybe that's why they close it off?
Well, it was there was military there at one time during World War II. I do
So
know that.
maybe that's why the activity is happening there, because maybe it's a hotspot potentially connecting to maybe their past and our past as well. And maybe they're doing their own research on us.
Right, right. Yeah. Why it was so, and then why was the ball so big? It had to be like 25 to 30 feet across. You know,
So
I'm
so
I'm
so
guessing.
this was
Remember,
like,
I'm on the other side of the bay, so I'm guessing based on the size of the trees and all that, because it was floating through the trees, how big it was.
yeah, 30 feet is a pretty big distance
It
for any
is.
aircraft.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen any aircraft. I know I've talked to a few people
Yeah.
who's had encounters with, even showing me footage as well of their crafts that they've seen. And yeah, it's definitely not something human that we would be able to create. Like, the only technology that I know of that we have ourselves would be, military jets and spaceships or spacecrafts like rockets, ships, and stuff like that. But when it comes to like this kind of technology that you're talking about, this is definitely out of the world. Like, I think it's just so intriguing and interesting that more researchers that do this kind of research need to open their eyes more to what you're seeing.
Right. I do have one more story if you want it. It's not UFO related though.
Well, I'll take it.
Really?
Hey, I mean,
Okay.
after all, you did share a really amazing encounter, which was
Yeah.
really, really impressive.
Yeah. This next encounter isn't so much what happened, but more of the implications, and that's what bothered me about this one. So, I'm at my gym. This is a different gym now. This is one here on Van Ness, not too far from me. I can walk to it. I still go to that gym. In fact, today, boom. So, and it's on Van Ness. There's a alley between in the back of the gym called Hemlock, which is an interesting name for an alley, right? Hemlock, because hemlock is a poison. And so I'm in the studio. This is a big open space, and I'm doing some shadow boxing. I walk over to the window. I'm all kind of tired out. I'm walk over to the window again, but this time I don't look up. I look down, and I can see at this time. This is about I'd have to say 6, 7 years ago, because there used to be a movie theater across the alley from the gym. It's not there anymore. It used to be called the Galaxy Theater, but it's not there anymore. There's condos there now. They built condos there. But at that time, it was just this boarded up old movie theater. Nobody was using it. And there were some homeless people, two homeless people, a man and a woman, and they were settled in there. They had brought all their stuff in. I was watching them unpack a little bit. They had a lot of stuff. And they were spreading it out, and it looked like they were going to spend the night there, even though it was in the afternoon. But it looked like they had settled in. And so I'm still watching them. Keep looking down, and then around the corner comes this black car, and it parks opposite them at one of the metered spaces there. And I'm just watching this black car. It's an older black car,
Is
too.
it like a van or?
No, it's like a sedan, like a four-door black sedan. And so I'm watching the black sedan for I see a guy open the door. He comes out. He's all dressed in black. He's got this black woolen coat on, and I can see underneath he's got a black suit with black pants, black clothes, no black hat. He was kind of balding, grayish hair. And but I see him look at the people. He gets out of the car. He looks at the two homeless people, and then he walks to the back of his car. He opens the trunk, and as soon as he opened the trunk, because I'm looking down on him, I can see inside the trunk. I see him go to grab something. There's something small and white in there, and I can't see it right just yet. But I see he put his hand over it because and that's when I notice he has white gloves on. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so the first thing I thought is, oh, he's in black suit, white gloves. He must be working the funeral because there's a church nearby, not far from us. And in fact, actually, it's a big church. So I'm thinking, oh, he's working the funeral and he's just waiting for it to be done, and then he'll go back and pick up his passengers. But that turned out not to be the case. So so I can see him he opens the trunk, picks up this white thing. He has it in his hands, and he's kind of rolling it over in his gloved white hands, right? And I'm trying to see what it is, but I can't quite see what it is. Finally, he stops. It's almost like he's caressing it, you know? It's almost like he's caressing it. And when finally he stops, he holds it up to the light in his gloved hands, and I can see what it is. Do you know who Guy Fawkes is?
Is it the mask with the mustache and all
Right, that's
Yeah.
it. That's the guy. So he's he was the leader of the failed gunpowder plot in, I think it was 1605 or something like that, in England. And so now they use his image as a symbol of anarchy, you know. And so he has a Guy Fawkes mask. That's what it is. It's a white Guy Fawkes mask.
Also known as Anonymous nowadays.
Right, anonymous. But there is no string on it. There's no string on it. And usually masks have a string so you can hold it onto your head. There's no string on it. And so he goes over to the homeless couple, and he had given them a few dollars earlier. Just I had forgotten to say that, but he had given them a few dollars. Then he walked back to his trunk. He goes back to the homeless couple, and he feints putting it on his face. He doesn't do it. He actually goes like this with the mask, and then he hands it over to them, right? Or he's attempting to hand it over to him. And the guys, and immediately the male says, no, whatever it is. He says, no, you know. And then he does it again. He feints putting it on his face, and he tries to hand it to them, and they won't do it. But the second time he tried to do it, they start gathering their things. And they're feeling what I'm feeling. From that distance, looking down on him, something was wrong. I could tell, oh, something's wrong. Something's not right. And I remember saying that to myself, something's not right. And I can feel it in the gut of my stomach. Something's not right. And I can see those guys, they're pack up all their crap, and then they almost like sprinting down the alleyway. And he just watches them go down the alleyway until they make a left onto Polk, and they're out of sight. And that's all he does. He's holding the mask, and he's just watching them go down. After they're out of sight, he opens the trunk up. He very carefully places the mask back down, and he closes the trunk. At this point, I can feel that I was kind of getting angry about something, and I don't know what it was. I just feel angry, and I'm gonna go and confront him. But the problem is, I'm like 3 floors up. I have to run all the way there. So I grab a few things. I grab my iPhone. I grab my wallet and my keys, and I just run down the gym. Go 3 floors down. They have a stairwell that goes down. I hit Post Street, run up to Van Ness, take a right, run over to Hemlock, take another right, and I can see him. He's starting to walk down the alley, the same direction that the homeless couple did. I can see him walking, and so I'm running down Hemlock, and this time as I'm about halfway down, he's way ahead of me. I'm starting to get it. I want to get his attention. I don't want him to go around the corner. I don't want to lose him. So I say, sir, right? You know, I'm trying to get his attention. He does not turn around. I'm about 30 feet behind him, and he goes around the corner. I'm only now when you're running, it doesn't take long to cover 30 feet. I'm about 4 or 5 seconds behind him. I go around the corner, nobody's there. He's
What?
gone.
So, what
But
about
there's
the
some.
two homeless people?
I didn't see them either, but they're in the other direction. I wasn't looking in there. I'm looking at the direction he had taken a right. They had taken a left. And I'm looking to see where he went. There are some small stores. There's an Indian grocery store there. So I look in the stores. I look in there's an apartment building there. So I look in the lobby of the apartment building. Nothing. I can see nothing. I look into the grocery stores. Nothing. I can't find him. And I just stood there for like a minute, waiting for him to pop out of somewhere, but he doesn't. He doesn't come out anywhere. So I said, can't wait here forever. So I decided I'm going to walk up and go take a look at his car. And maybe I can figure out who he is based on the car. So I walk all the way back up. It's kind of uphill. I walk all the way back up Hemlock Alley, get to the car, and I notice it's really old. It's maybe like a 25-year-old car. But I have to tell you, Scott, it's immaculate. There's not a dent on it. It's beautifully polished. I look into the passenger side where it's parked, and there's nothing in the car. Scott,
Wow.
there's nothing in the car. No tissues, no box, nothing hanging from the rearview mirror, no pen. You know how we all have stuff in our car?
Yeah.
No freshener, no
No
nothing.
hand
There's actually
sanitizer.
it, nothing, and
In my
it's
car, I have like a water bottle. I have like maybe some
right.
trash in the back.
Exactly. We all have that in our car. You know, there's nothing in there. And I'm like, how can that be? So I said, well, I'm going to take a look in the back where he took that mask out of, and I go around to the back of the car, and I'm looking at the trunk part, and then I decide to look at the license plate, and I notice it's a U.S. government license plate. It says U.S. government on it right there, and within the number letter sequence, right in the middle of it, there are 3 sixes, six
Hmm.
six six, and I'm like, wow, that's I start to kind of
Do
laugh
you
and
ever
say,
have
oh,
a picture of the license plate, or?
I did take a picture of it. Unfortunately, it's on my old computer, not this one that we're using, but my old one, and it's not working right now. So I never, uh, you take the data and bring it over to a new computer. I never did that, so I still have that computer, but I never, it's kind of broken. I can't get it to come back up anymore. But I did take pictures of the license plate just to show other people. But you could see it right in the U.S. government plate, and right in the middle. There's other numbers, and there's other maybe a letter or two on to the right. But there's a 666 in there. There's no registration tag, nothing else. Just says U.S. government and just a few numbers and a letter. That's it, with that 666 in the middle. And I'm saying, wow, that can't be. That can't be. And so I'm just stood there for a while, and then I just said, I'm just gonna go home, and I just went home after that. And what this reminded me, Scott, I have to tell you, and there's speculation on my part, and I know there's speculation, and we can accept that because sometimes we have to speculate a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
and then you have to
And
research it too.
yeah, I think that he was there to get something from those homeless couple, and he buttered them up by giving them a few dollars. And I had seen that. I had seen him give him a few dollars, and he was hoping they would put that mask on. I think that mask, it didn't have any string on it, but I don't think it was a normal mask. I think it was there to get something from them, and something not right. I think he was there to do something evil.
Hmm.
And in doing some of my research and readings about these kinds of encounters, I've often found that there are, I don't know if you know this, but there are some rumors in the government agencies, and this is regarding UFOs as well, that they are here. That the rumor is that they're here to collect souls,
Hmm.
and I suspect that's what he was attempting to do. It's just my feeling. It was not. I don't get that gut feeling for nothing. And so I often think about what he was attempting to do and why, and I started wondering why he was attempting to do such a thing. And there is some precedent to this. There are government agencies. There are rumors and stories, and there's some prominent authors who write about this. that some of these so-called extraterrestrials are here to collect such things.
Going
And this is
to
where the spiritual kind of meets ufology. And I am not quick to dismiss that either.
you know
What do you think?
speaking of authors, there is a book that I haven't
I
gotten
have
to
that
read.
book, yes.
Yeah, you
Yep.
have the same book.
Yeah, I
Yep,
have that same
this is
book, yeah.
Behold a Pale Horse, and this guy, his friend, was in the government doing work for them and stuff, and the way that this guy, he literally wrote out his own death in his own book, which is really
Oh,
crazy.
wow. Yeah.
Uh, Spoiler alert, but uh, I think it's very interesting that uh, that kind of stuff happens within our own system, and
Yeah.
like Bob Lazar was chased after for the work that he's done, and it makes me wonder, will they come after us next? I hope not, but is it something that they're trying to hide? Because they're trying to show us it at the same time, but then they're trying to hide it. So
Right. Yeah, there are rumors that, the United States or the government had made a deal with aliens, right? You've heard of this before, had made
oh,
a deal with
I
aliens that
have.
they would get to abduct a certain amount of humans, but they didn't say what for. They just said they wanted to do research, if you recall that, but they never said what they wanted to do with us. I suspect some of that research is collecting souls. I had read a story recently called the Mojave Incident. Have you heard of that one?
No, but I do have a friend who does have special access to the
Yeah.
Mojave land because of blood relatives.
So the Mojave Incident was interesting. It was this couple who had gone to camp in the Mojave Desert down in Southern California, and they had been abducted. They end up getting abducted. And it comes out during while they're having these horrible dreams. They decide to go to a researcher to help them. He puts them under hypnosis, and all this story comes out about what happens. They, in their recalling of their tale, they also intimate the same thing. They intimate that they may be harvesting souls, that there's something that they're interested. Not only in the desert, they're interested in definitely the Mojave Desert. There's something under it, they said,
And was this a
but
book or
also,
was this a case?
yeah. So it's called the Mojave Incident. You can find the book.
Yeah, I'm gonna write this down so I don't.
Yeah,
I'm really good at
yeah.
forgetting things,
And a
but
couple of the UFO TV shows have done a version of this. But at the end of the book, if you get the book and if you read towards the end, they intimate this may be something more spiritual and that it may be evil.
and what is the name of the book?
The Mojave Incident.
And, so Mojave incident, and that's the title of the book.
Yeah.
And then, do you know the author off the top of your head?
Let's see. I was recalling it. I was telling somebody about it a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember offhand what.
All right, well, I can do some research on my own time, but
Yeah, just look
I
up.
wrote it down on my sticky note.
Yeah, you can just go to
For my
Amazon.com
viewers.
and look up that name of that book, and you'll see. You'll see. I want to say something like Sommer. So his name's like Sommer, Somer, or something like that. But yeah, very interesting book. I'd read it. Some of the UFO, as I was saying, some of the UFO TV shows had done. I've seen it on UFO TV shows. They'd done a version of it on their show, showing the aliens coming forth from them. But again, to reiterate my point, they intimate at the end that there's something spiritual going on.
So there might be a spiritual connection between extraterrestrials, UFOs, and
Right.
maybe the hotspot of San Francisco and maybe New York or
Yeah.
other famous tourist attractions as well.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. The Mojave has a long history of UFO reports. Has a long history of unusual phenomenon. I don't know if you know this, but the one of the co-founders of JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I can't remember his name offhand. It'll come to me. They did HBO did a show on it, on him, on his life. Was a Satanist. He was a magician. He practiced black magic, but he also professionally created rockets as well. That's why he's the co-founder of Jet Propulsion Laboratory. But he was they scattered his ashes in the Mojave Desert, and they wouldn't say where, you know, and they had done some kind of ritual there as well. So I believe that he was involved in a ritual in Mojave back in the 40s, which some people are saying may have opened a portal um,
No
prior
doubt.
to 1947. So some people blame him and the person he was with. Jack Parsons. His name is Jack Parsons.
No doubt in my mind, there's many portals. There's
Right.
someone my viewers can look this up, but it's called, it's in Greece, I think it is, but there's a lake, and it's known as the portal of the gods, and it's how all the gods, have entered to
Yeah.
Earth and all this, and apparently there's a special key to the door, but no one's found the key to the door.
Where is
Which
this lake?
it's somewhere in Greece, or
Oh, Greece. Okay.
I want to say it's Greece. I haven't read up about this case or this lake in a while, but I remember I was watching what's it called? Alien Techno. What's that alien show on History Channel?
Ancient
I,
Aliens.
Ancient Aliens. Yeah, I was
Okay.
watching Ancient Aliens, and they were talking about this lake and how there's so many UFOs there because of the portal.
Right.
So just like that case that you were talking about with the guy that owned the jet company,
Jack Parsons. Jack
yeah.
Parsons.
So maybe that also opens more than just that other portal that I was talking about, and maybe
Yeah.
there's even more portals too.
Yeah.
So
He was associated with Aleister Crowley. I don't know if you know who that is.
I did not.
Aleister Crowley is one of the most famous from in the early 1900s. One of the most famous Satanists in the world. He's really well known. He's written a lot of several books on magic, and was noted by the English press as being one of the most evil people in the world.
Hmm.
Yeah, so but he has a very interesting life. Yeah, because he
Well,
was a magician and sort of an anti-Christian back in the early 1900s, when it was not fashionable to be that way, or just you were really looked down upon if you told people if you were Luciferian or Satanist or something like that, and you were studied or practiced magic.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely is very interesting, and yeah, I think I definitely will do some research up on those cases as well, and see if I find anything as well that may seem out of the ordinary.
Okay. All right. Well, Scott, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you for your time
You're
and your
welcome.
dedication to making it to be able to come onto my podcast. And to my viewers, you are more than welcome to go to paranormalawakening.org. Go to paranormalawakening.org/contact if you want to check out a way to contact me. If you have any experiences that you want to share, that's how you contact me. And I am truly grateful for being able to talk to encounters, people who experience these encounters. And I want to say thank you once again for your time as well, guys. The link to his channel will be down in the description, as well as my website. And make sure to go check him out as well on his YouTube channel. And thank you once again for your time.
All right. Thank you.
And
And
maybe
if
we'll
you're in
bring
the
you
Bay
on.
Area and you want
Hey,
a
maybe we'll
boxing
do an
lesson,
in-person research too.
yeah. But if you're in the Bay Area and you want a boxing lesson, JimEagleBoxing.com.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And
Eagle like the bird.
and then if you want to send that link to me, I can post that down in my bio as well.
Sure. Absolutely.
And then you guys can talk UFOs and box it up as well.
Yeah. So, and you can, if you want to send, if you have any questions about what has happened or about my encounters, you can. There's contact information in jimmygoboxing.com as well. There's a place to send me a message.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, make sure to go check him out when this does get uploaded. I'm gonna try and upload it by this Sunday if I can. I'm gonna end up tonight and tomorrow night, and then upload it Sunday. And yeah, I hope everyone stays safe out there on your research. And yeah. All right, we'll see you guys on the next episode.